where to go, where to go, where to go, where to go, where to go.
Well, I think actually Occupy Wall Street picked up a lot of what they did from things that the Yippies did in the past. For example, it was very traditional for Yippies to occupy parks or other public property to use as a basis to do protests out of, and that's really what Occupy Wall Street did down at Zuccotti Park. A lot of the same issues, banks, freedom of information, freedom of speech, were central to Yippie organizing. And Yippie organizing was aimed at youth. WS really was in a lot of ways aimed at youth and brought a lot of young people out into the streets and gave them on-the-job training and how to do organizing and rabble-rousing and also how to stand up to the police. I mean, the first time I went to a protest against a convention with the Yippies, I seen Ben Maisel practically just do a flying somersault over a line of riot cops and go running to try to get into a building, you know, I mean, get tackled and hauled off to jail. And Aaron Kay, the Yippie Pie Man, would be throwing pies at people. And
it's like, you know, agitator Olympics.
It was, well, I got to tell you, Ben Maisel, when the Democratic Convention was here a long time ago, we camped out in Central Park, and as a thing to get the press out there, they had the Yippie Olympics. They had like a whole, and it brought like a massive amount of press, and they had all kinds of like pie throwing contests and how to steal books out of stores contests. I mean, just, you know, stuff that we had made up that was funny, but it's really, we really actually did a Yippie Olympics. Now, I think what the difference is between Occupy Wall Street and the Yippies is the Yippies were a lot more fun. For one thing, we always had pot to smoke, and we were smoking pot all the time. Like, you know, down there in Zuccotti Park, you had to go like away from the park, and like, you know, it wasn't a constant smoking going on most of the time. And I mean, back in the day when we used to do the smoking over in Washington Square Park, we'd have a secret location where we would roll up like 2 pounds of really crappy pie and take it over there and give it out to people in Washington Square Park. Also, there was the, we were much more sexually liberated. Occupy Wall Street is pretty much like very repressed sexually compared to the Yippies. You know, I mean, everybody would be sleeping with everybody else in the Yippie thing, and in Occupy Wall Street, it's really, when there are relationships, pretty much monogamous. There's none of that going on. Just the tactics and everything. I mean, Occupy Wall Street is very serious. We were serious at times and completely like sarcastic and crazy and funny at other times. It was, both of them were really, really monumental things that I've been part of in my life, but Yippies were more fun.
How large is your archive?
I estimate it to be 30,000 images, something like that. I mean, you know, I covered the Tompkins Square Park riots, the squatter eviction. One of my most famous photographs is of the armored personnel carrier, aka the tank that they brought in to evict 5 squatted buildings on East 13th Street.
It was July 4th, wasn't it?
It was before July 4th. They retook the building on July 4th.
I remember taking my nephews and nieces to see the fireworks. We came by and we saw this like militarized zone over on 13th Street, and I was like, what the hell is going on here?
Well, I mean, that was hilarious. They had evicted that building, you know, at a cost of probably like $500,000 and thousands of police officers. Then the squatters got back in the building, and right as I was watching on TV, and right as Rudy Giuliani was giving his 4th of July patriotic speech, they all cut into the program with a helicopter shot of the squatters up on the building, like shaking their fists. And I go, all right. I grabbed my camera and running over to 13th Street to take pictures
That's what brought us to 13th Street.
Yes.
Because we knew some people who were shooting the fireworks, so we got a nice primo spot on the drive over the East River, and then all of a sudden I'm looking at this helicopter flying over, I'm like, that's a little close to be on TV.
Something's going on there, right?
Happening. Yeah. So we went and checked it out, and the cops wouldn't let us down the block or anything.
Well, what's interesting is they instituted a new procedure after that happened.
that they wouldn't do an eviction of a squatted building unless they had a demolition crew ready to go. I mean, as soon as the eviction happened, they would come in and demolish the building right afterward, because they didn't want to have to go through, another. They knew the squatters would go back in if they didn't tear the buildings down. I almost lost my hearing that night because a squatter threw a Super M80 off the top of that building, and it landed right between me and this big cop from the 9th precinct they called Lurch, and it blew up, and I couldn't hear for a week after that. Eventually Lurch went that way, I went the other way, but then the next thing I know, Lurch came back and grabbed me and dragged me down the street and threw me over the police barricade at the end of into the street. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that happened.